Hello guys, this video is a continuation to the previous video I made over SAT and ACT math review. That's where we went over some basic concepts everybody must know, whoever is taking SAT or ACT. So this is a second video and we're gonna go over a few more concepts you need to know before you even start preparing for SAT or ACT. So in this video I'm gonna go over some basics from algebra section and I will go from there. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna talk about today is expressions. So expressions with one variable. Okay, you will see problems on expressions, but you need to know what are expressions. And expressions with one variable. So first of all, an expression is a combination of numbers, variable, and at least one operation that represents a mathematical relationship. For example, let's say if I got x plus 7. So I got x as a variable, 7 as a number, and this plus sign is the operation. So this x plus 7 basically represents an expression. And it can be like, let's say, a plus 5. So those are expressions. So we can plug in any value of x and solve the expression. So it can also be like if they ask a word problem, let's say there is a basket full of apples and there are 7 extra apples. So these are the number of apples in the basket. We don't know, but there are 7 extra. Okay, and now somebody say, let's say x is equal to 30. That means there are 30 apples in the basket and somebody added 7 extra. So how many apples you have in total? So x is 30, so 30 plus 7, that gives you 37. Okay, so in different way to look at it. Okay, and expressions can also be written in different ways. Let's write one that looks like this. Okay, so what we need to do over here, we need to use the distributive property. See, 2 times x is 2x plus sign, and 2 times 5 is 10. So that gives me 2x plus 10. So we are using distributive property over here. Distributive property. And let's say we got x plus 1 into x plus 2. Okay, so what we're gonna do over here, we're gonna use FOIL method. FOIL. Okay, so let's go over that. What does how to FOIL this expression, or how to multiply them. And what we're gonna do over here is, so FOIL, F stands for first, so x is the first here and this one. So we're gonna multiply the first term. So x multiplied by x gives me x square. Then comes outer. So x is the outer and 2 is outer. So we're gonna multiply the outer terms. X times 2 gives me 2x, and see there is a positive sign, so we are gonna use positive sign. Then comes inner. I stands for inner terms. So this 1 and this x are the inner terms. Okay, so 1 multiplied by x gives me 1x. Then comes L, stands for last term. What is the last term here? It's 1, this one, and this one. 2 is the last term, so 1 multiplied by 2 gives me 2. Now what we're gonna do over here, add the like terms. So x square, so x and x both are like terms, both have x in them. So 2x plus 1x, which is equal to 3x, and the 2 is a constant, so it will stay like it is. So x square plus 3x plus 2 is the answer for this expression. Okay, and you might see some expressions with two variables. Let me write down one with the two variables. Let's say you got x plus y plus 7. And now there are two different variables. They can have different value. Let's say they gave you, if x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 3, and they said evaluate the expression. Evaluate the expression. So what we need to do, we just need to plug in the value of x and y into the expression and solve it. So x is 1. If x is equal to 1, that means the value for x is 1 and y is 3. So we plug in y equal to 3 and 7 is a constant, so stay as is it. So 3 plus 1 is 4 plus 7 is 11. So that's the answer for this expression. Okay. So next topic I'm gonna go over is equations. Equations, and we need to find the solution for the equation. So find the solution or solve the equation. Find the solution. Let me write that down first. Okay. So equation is basically like an expression, but there's an equal sign. So let's say I got 3x minus 1. So this is a expression, but this is equal to 11. Now it becomes an equation. And they said solve this equation, and whenever they say solve the equation, that means you need to find the value of this x over here. Solve it for x. Okay. So what we can do to solve it for x? So I just want x on one side and I want to get rid of all other things. So let's look at it, what we can do over here. So I just want 3x on left hand side, but there is a negative 1 here. I want to get rid of this negative 1. What should I do? So if I add 1 here, that'll cancel out this 1. But I cannot add 1 on one hand side. I need to add that on the other side too. Then both sides will be equal. Otherwise, there will be imbalance. Okay. So if we are adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing on one hand side, we have to do that on the other side too. All right. So let's do that. So if I add 1 here, this will cancel this 1 here. So this gives me 3x, and we got rid of 1, is equal to 11 plus 1 is 12. Again, as I said, we just want the value of x. So this is 3x. If I just want x, I'm going to divide it by 3. That'll cancel this 3 here. But again, I have to do that on both sides. Okay, so 3 will cancel this 3, and 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 times 4 is 12. So that gives me x is equal to 4. So this is the solution for this equation, and we can check it. So if x is equal to 4 here, plug in x is equal to 4 here, what will be the left hand side? If x is 4, so 3 times 4 minus 1 is equal to 3 times 4 is 12 minus 1. 12 minus 1 is 11, which is equal to the right hand side. That means this solution is correct. Okay, so they can ask different kind of problems. This is again the basics. Okay, just to clarify your basic concepts. Like on real SAT, there'll be problem. Those will be, you need to think about them, but you need to know your basics first. So this is just for to clear your basics, not like real SAT or ACT questions. Okay, so let's say there's a variable on both hand sides. For example, if I got 2x minus 2 is equal to 4 plus x. You see there's a variable on both hand side. So first of all, I want to get rid of x from one side. Let's get rid of this x. So subtract x, but I need to subtract it from this side too, right? So 2x minus x gives me x minus 2 is equal to 4. This x will cancel this x out, so there is nothing. Now this looks like single like one variable, right? So Again, I want to get rid of this 2 here now. So what I need to do? Add 2. But we need to do it on other side too. So this is cancel the 2 here. So x is equal to 4 plus 2 is 6. So x is equal to 6 is the solution. Let's say I got a problem that looks like with a multiplication. Let's say 4x is equal to 60. So what we need to do? We need to divide by 4 because I want to get rid of this 4. So let's divide by 4 here, divide by 4 over here. So this 4 will cancel this 4. So that gives me x is equal to, and 4 times 15 is 60. So this is the solution. Okay, and let's say I got 1/2 x is equal to 20. So in this case, if I want to get rid of this 1/2, what I need to do? I need to multiply by 2 here. Then I can cancel this 2 in the denominator, right? But I need to multiply on this hand side too. So this 2 will cancel this 2. So this gives me x on the left hand side, and 20 times 2 is 40 on the right hand side. So this is the solution for this problem. Okay, so different ways. So sometimes you need to add, sometimes you need to subtract, sometimes you need to divide, and sometimes you need to multiply just to find the value of x. So those are the equations, some basic rules to simplify the equations. Okay, same thing with inequalities. Let's say if we are solving inequalities. So inequalities is like, instead of equal sign, there will be either less than or greater than or less than or equal to, that kind of equation. So for example, I got 3x plus 5 greater than or equal to 11. Just treat it as you did over here for the equal sign, and you'll be able to solve it. See, I want to get rid of this 5 because I just want x term on this side. So I need to subtract 5, but I need to subtract on this hand side too. So this gives me 3x. This 5 will cancel out this. Greater than or equal to 11 minus 5 is 6. And now I need to divide it by 3. Gives you 1, and left with x. Greater than or equal to 3 times 2 is 6. So this is the solution. Okay, the other problem, let's say if I got 2x plus 4 greater than or equal to 3x minus 2. You see, now there is a variable on both sides. So same thing, let's get rid of 1x. So if I subtract subtract 3x, I need to do that over here too. So this will get rid of this 3x here, and 2x minus 3x gives me minus x plus 4 greater than or equal to negative 2. Right, now I want to get rid of this 4. Subtract 4 here too, cancel out. I left with a negative x greater than or equal to negative 2. Negative 4 gives me negative 6. But I just want x to be in a positive. So what do we need to do? Multiply both sides with negative 1. Negative 1. Same thing here. Multiply by negative 1. And there is a rule in inequalities. So whenever you multiply or divide an inequality with a negative number, you need to flip this inequality symbol. For example, in this case, when we multiply the left with negative 1 multiplied by negative x gives me x, but this symbol will be flipped, so it will be less than or equal to now 6. That is the answer. Instead of greater than or equal to, it will be less than or equal to. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, flip the inequality symbol. Okay, good. And let me write down one more, so that way with a negative. So for example, if I got 5 minus 5x greater than or equal to 50, right? So let's get rid of this 5 here. So subtract 5, subtract 5, cancel this out, we're left with negative 5x greater than or equal to 45. See, now I want to get rid of this negative 5. What I can do? Divide both sides by negative 5, right? And this will gives you 1, so you're left with the x. But again, you are dividing by a negative number, so you're going to flip the symbol and you'll be left with a negative 9 here. See, it was greater than or equal to, now it is less than or equal to, because we are dividing it by a negative number. Okay. Practice more example just to clarify your basics. If your basics are not clear, no matter how much you try, you will make mistakes and your problem will go wrong. So now the next example or the problem I'm gonna go over is like solve by graphing. So we're gonna solve some equations by graphing them. Let's say I got 2x minus y is equal to negative 4, and then we've got 3x plus y is equal to 9. So I got two equations and I need to solve them by graphing. Okay, so you can solve them by either method of elimination or substitution. We'll go over that too in a little bit, but I'm gonna go over this first. Okay, so like a system of equations, you can solve them by either method of substitution or elimination, and then you can solve them by graphing too. So let's go over how we can solve them by graphing. So what we need to do, this is a one equation, this is another equation. So these are linear equations. That means whenever you're going to graph them, the graph going to look like a line. Okay. And when they said solve means find the value of x and y that satisfy both of them. Okay. So let's solve the first one. 2x minus y is equal to negative 4. Not solve, I mean graph the first line here or first equation. So what we need to do, we need to plug in the x value and solve for y, or plug in the y value and solve it for x. Okay. So let me make a table over here. I got x and a y. Let's say x is equal to 0. Okay, so if x is 0 here, 2 times 0 is 0, minus y is equal to negative 4, and okay, negative cancel negative, so y is going to be 4. Okay, and now if x is equal to 1, what will happen in that case? Okay, so if x is equal to, hold on, if x is equal to 1, 2 times 1 minus y is equal to negative 4, and this will be 2 minus y is equal to negative 4, and I can subtract 2 from both hand sides, cancel this out, and negative y is going to be negative 6, multiply by negative gives you y is equal to 6. Now again, see, whenever you are multiplying by negative here, nothing happened because this symbol is an equal symbol, not an inequality. Whenever this is an inequality, you multiply by negative, you flip the symbol. So y is going to be 6 here. So that's how you can plug in x values and find the y. I did a couple of them. I'm going to write them down. I'm not going to solve all of them. So x is 2, y is 8, x is 3, y is equal to 10. So this is the table for this first equation. And let's graph this on the graph. So if x is 0, so let's say this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. If x is equal to 0 and y is going to be 4, so 1, 2, so this side is y and this side is x and y. If x is 0 here and y is equal to 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, this is the point here, so 0 and 4. If x is equal to 1, y is going to be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the point here. If x is equal to 2, so 1 and 2, y is going to be 8. So 6, 7, and 8. So these points, so if I join them, this is going to be, doesn't look straight, but yeah, so this is the graph for this equation. This is a straight line here for 2x minus y is equal to -4. Same thing we're gonna do for 3x. Let me write that down. 3x plus y is equal to 9. Okay, so you plug in x value, find the y value and graph it. And for this one, when you plug in x is equal to, let's say, 0, if x is 0, y is 9, because this term will be 0, we'll have to the y is equal to 9. X is equal to 1, we find y is equal to 6. X is equal to 2, y is equal to 3, x is equal to 3, and y is equal to 0. Let's graph this one over here. So x is equal to 0 and y is equal to 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is the point. X is equal to 1 and y is equal to 6. So this is the point. So this is the point that is common in both of them. You see this 1 and 6, 1 and 6. Now x is equal to 2, 1 and 2, and y is equal to 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if we join these points, that will give you a straight line. Going, God, I'm bad at this. So like this, you use a ruler, it will be a straight line. Just assume this is a straight line. Okay, my tablet is not helping me here. Okay, so both the line passes through this common point. So that means this common point, which is 1 and 6, is the solution to both of these equations. So x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 6 is the solution. And we can check it. If we plug in x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 6 in any of them, they will be equal to each other. Let's try that too. Okay, so let's take 2x minus 1, 2x minus y. If x is 1, that gives me 2 times 1 minus y is 6. Okay, so 2 minus 6 is equal to -4, and that's what it is. So that means these points work for first equation. Let's try the second equation. So left hand side for the second equation is 3x plus y. So plug in x is equal to 1, 3 times 1, and y is equal to 6. So 3 plus 6 is equal to 9, and that's what it is. So that means these points are the solution. Okay, so that's how you can find the solution by using a graph. Now, believe me, when you join those points, they are straight lines if you use a ruler. Okay, so let's use the system of equations. I should have done this after the substitution and elimination, but it's okay. Let's go over the next topic. So we're gonna solve system of equations. Okay, system of equations. 8th grader, 7th grader, you might have seen all those already, but this is just again for review. So there are two methods. One of them is substitution and the other one is elimination. I'm gonna write that over here. Elimination method. So we're gonna start with the substitution method. Let's say we got two equations. One of them is y is equal to 8 and the other one is 4x minus 3y is equal to 8. So when we are using substitution method, that means we're gonna substitute the value of one variable from one equation to the other. So let's say this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. So this is very simple because the first equation is just y is equal to 8. So we can plug in or substitute y is equal to 8 in equation number 2 here. Okay, so we left with 4x minus 3 as y is equal to 8, so we're gonna plug in y is equal to 8 over here and solve this equation. Okay, so that gives me 4x minus 24 is equal to 8, and 4x, add 24 on both hand side, this will cancel, so 4x is equal to 32 divided by 4. This gives me x is equal to, this 4 will cancel this 4 times 8 is 32, and x is equal to 8. So in this problem, x is 8 and y is 8. So substitution method. Okay, so let's do one more example. So substitution, another example is I got 2x minus y is equal to negative 4. The second equation is going to be 3x plus y is equal to 9. So this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. So we need to find the value of one variable from one equation and plug in that into the second equation. There is like a different way. Either you can find the value of x from here or y, whichever you feel like you can do it faster or easier. Okay, so let's take this equation 2x minus y is equal to negative 4. I see y is a term with no variable multiplied to it, so I'm gonna find the value of y here and plug it in equation number 2. So if I subtract 2x on both hand side, right, so that gives me, I'll cancel this out, I'm left with negative y is equal to negative 4 negative 2x, and if I multiply by negative 1 on both hand side, this gives me y is equal to 2x plus 4 or 4 plus 2x, same thing. You see, I found one variable. I'm gonna plug in this variable in the second equation. So in second equation, instead of y, I'm gonna plug in y is equal to 2x plus 4. So we got 3x plus 2x plus 4 is equal to 9. Now simplify it. So like terms, we're gonna add the like terms. 3x plus 2x is 5x plus 4 is equal to 9. Subtract 4, cancel this out, we're left with the 5x is equal to 9 minus 4 is 5, and divide both sides by 5. This gives me x is equal to 5 times 1 is 5, so x is equal to 1. Now you can plug in x is equal to 1 in any of the equation to find the y. Okay, we can plug in here because y is already simplified, so y is 2x plus 4. Okay, if x is equal to 1, that means y is equal to 2 times 1 plus 4, and y is equal to 2 plus 4 is 6. So x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 6. So that's called substitution method. You solve for one variable and plug that variable into the second equation. Solve it. Alright. So let's do the other method, which is elimination. So let's say I got 2x. I'm gonna solve the same problem, okay, and see if we get the same answer, right? 2x minus y is equal to negative 4, and 3x plus y is equal to 9. So how elimination method work is, we need to eliminate one of the variable and solve for the other. Okay, sometimes you need to multiply by a number or divide by a number, so we'll see. Let's look at this problem over here. So in this one, see, in this equation I got negative y, and the second equation I got positive y. If I add both equation, then I can cancel these two variables here. So let's say add equation 1 and 2. So add 1 to equation 2, right? So what will happen? Let me do that. Okay, so if we add, this is 1, this is 2. So 3x plus 2x will be 5x, but this is negative y, this is positive y. When you add them, they're gonna cancel out. So we're left with 0 here. Okay, is equal to minus 4 plus 9 gives me plus 5. Right, so you left with the 5x is equal to 5, and now divide both sides by 5. See, and this gives you, therefore we got x is equal to 5 times 1 is 5, so x is equal to 1. See, we got the same answer. Now when you got x is equal to 1, you can plug in that value of x in either 1 or 2. You'll find the y value. Let's plug in that in equation number 1. So 2x is 1 minus y is equal to negative 4, right? So you're left with 2 minus y is negative 4. So if I subtract 2 from both hand side, because I want to get rid of this 2, I'm left with a negative y is equal to negative 4, negative 2 gives me negative 6, and multiply by negative sign, y is going to be equal to 6. That's what we got by using substitution method. See that? All right. So let's do one more problem. That's where we need to multiply by a number. So first equation I got here is 2x plus 3y is equal to 8. Second equation I got is 3x plus 2y is equal to 7. See, now we need to eliminate one of the variable. But in the previous example, see, there was a negative y and a positive y. We just added them. One variable get cancelled. But if you see equations like these, that's where we need to multiply. Okay. So let's see what we can do. So let's say this is equation number 1 and this is equation number 2. If I want to cancel out x variable over here, so what should I do? If I multiply equation number 1 by 3, that will gives me 6x over here, right? And if I want 6x over here, I need to multiply equation number 2 by 2. So 3x times 2 will be 6x, and then we subtract, cancelled out. Let's rewrite them. So when you multiply equation number 1 by 3, that gives me 2x times 3 is 6x plus sign. 3y times 3 is 9y is equal to, and multiply the other hand side too. Remember, both sides. 8 times 3 is 24. Okay, let's label this equation as equation number 3. Okay. Now multiply equation number 2 by 2. So 3x times 2 is going to be 6x. 2y times 2 is going to be 4y, and 7 times 2 is going to be 14, and this is equation number 4. So now if I subtract equation number 3 from equation number 4, what will happen? Right? So negative sign, negative sign, negative sign, you're subtracting them. So 6x minus 6x cancel out. 9y minus 4y gives you 5y. 24 minus 14 gives you 10. Okay. What is the next step? Want to get rid of this 5. Divide by 5. Cancel, cancel. 5 times 2 is 10. Therefore, y is equal to 2. Now you can plug in this y in any of those equations. You can find the value of x. Let's plug in the first equation, equation number 1. If y is equal to 2, that means 2x plus 3 times 2 is equal to 8. 2x plus 6 is equal to 8. Subtract 6 from both sides. So 2x is equal to 8 minus 6 is 2. Divide both sides by 2. Cancel out. 2 times 1 is 2. Therefore, x is equal to 1. See, that's what you can do when you don't see the variables equal to each other, like in this example here. So you can make them equal to eliminate one of the variable by multiplying or by dividing any numbers to them. And always remember, whenever you're multiplying, multiply the both sides, not just one side. Otherwise, your problem will be wrong. So next part I'm gonna go over is graphing inequalities. Okay, I'm gonna write it down over here. Graphing inequalities. Okay, so let's say you got, let's start with a very easy one. You got x plus 3 greater than 2. Graph this inequality. So what you need to do, first of all, simplify it. Find the value of x. Treat it as an equal sign. So if I subtract 3 here and 3 here, that gives me x is going to be greater than -1. Okay, and how you can graph it? Let's say I got a number line over here. The coordinate, let's make a coordinate here. This is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and so on, x values and y values. And it says there is a -1. X is greater than -1. That means all the values after this point, all the values after this -1. So I'm gonna make a vertical, oh sorry, as this is just a greater than sign, I'm gonna make a dotted line here. Okay, all the values are going to be in this area. So this is basically the graph. X is greater than -1, all these values, but this -1 is not included. Make sure. If it was, let's say, greater than or equal to sign, right, that means this -1 is included, and that's where you make a solid line here. And if it was like a y, then the graph is going to be the other way. So let me write another equation which is a little with 2 variable. So you got 2y less than 4x minus 6, and they said graph this inequality. Okay, so what we can do, so first of all, you see, it can be written as 2y. I can factor 2 from here, left with 2x minus 3, and if we divide both sides by 2, just trying to simplify it, right? So cancel it out. Y is less than, this 2 will cancel this 2, left with the 2x minus 3. Good. So first of all, graph it as if it is an equal sign over here. Just treat it as an equal sign and graph it. And how you can graph it? Remember, you make a table, you plug in the x value, you find the y values. Now treat it as an equal sign. If x is equal to, let's say, if x is equal to 0 here, if x is 0, y is going to be -3, because 2 times 0 is 0, so y is -3. And if x is equal to 1, if x is 1, so 2 minus 3 minus 1, y is going to be -1. If x is equal to 2, so 2 times 2 is 4, minus 3 is 1. If x is equal to 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 6 minus 3 is 3. So graph these points here, and then we go from there. Okay, so let's use this. So x is equal to 0 and y is equal to -3. So that is This is the point, and this side is our x values, this side is our y values, negative y values here. So x is equal to 1 and y is equal to negative 1. So this is the point here. X is equal to 2 and y is equal to 1. This is the point over here. X is equal to 3 and y is equal to 3. This is the point over here. So how the graph will look like here? So just join these points. And we're gonna use a dotted line again because this is a less than sign only. Less than or greater than, but no equal. That's where you use the dotted line, okay? But if you got so something like this. If it was, let's say, y is less than or equal to sign, then we make this line a solid line. But this is not the case, so we're gonna just, there's no equal sign here, just the less than, so we're gonna make it a dotted line. So now the next step is we need to find where is the solution to this equation. Is it above the line or below the line? One easy method to look at it is if the symbol is a less than symbol, you shade the below the line, and if it's greater than, you shade above the line. Okay, the other way to look at is they call it 0-0 test. Okay, how you can use the 0-0 test? So this is your inequality. You plug in x and y value equal to 0. So if I plug in y is equal to 0, I got 0 less than, and x is equal to 0. 2 times 0 is 0, minus 3, 0 less than negative 3. Is it true? No. 0 is not less than negative 3. It's greater than. So this is wrong. That means 0 is not, the point 0, 0 is not included in the solution. This is the 0, here. See? This is our color. So that means this point is not included in the solution. So now let's assume if you shaded above the line, then this 0, 0 will be in the solution, but that's not the case. 0, 0 is not the solution. So what we need to do, we don't want 0, 0 in the solution. And that's only possible if we shade under the line. Okay. So whatever is under the line here is your solution. The other problem they asked, they gave you two equations here. This is one inequality and there is another inequality, and they ask you what is a solution. So what you will do in that case? Let's say the other line, when you graph it, the other line's graph looks like this, right? And the solution is also under the line. Now whatever area is common for both of the lines is the solution to both of the equations. So in this case, this reason I'm marking this reason here, I'm gonna say red. So this reason which is common in both the curve is going to be the solution if they give you two equations. Okay, all right, so that's how you can graph the inequalities and find the solutions. Let's move to the next topic, quadratic equations. So they ask you solve quadratic equations by factoring. So you have to solve the quadratic equation, but you need to factor it first. So you need to learn how to factor a quadratic equation. So let's learn that. I have made another video like just how to factor quadratic. You can watch that to understand how to factor, but I'm gonna do it over here too, so it doesn't matter. So let's say I got equation which is x squared plus 10x plus 25 is equal to 0. So first of all, we need to factor it. So what I use, that's what I learned when I was in 6th grade, I don't know, long time ago, and it always works for me. So if I want to factor this quadratic here, so what I need to do is what I usually do. Whatever is the coefficient of x square, in this case it's just 1, and this constant here, I'm gonna multiply these two numbers. So this gives me 25, right? Now I want to break down this 10x into two numbers. Again, I'm gonna multiply 1 by 25, gives me 25. I'm gonna break down this 10x into two numbers so that when I multiply those two numbers gives me 25, and when I add or subtract them gives me 10x. Okay, let's find those two numbers. So I start with 1 times 25, right? So those two numbers when I multiply gives me 25. But when I add 1 or 25 does not gives me 10. Let's try 2. 2 doesn't go to 25, 3 no. How about 5? 5 times 5 is 25. Good. And when I add 5 and 5 gives me 10x. So I can break this 10x into 5x and 5x. Okay, so that means x square, 10x can be written as 5x plus 5x plus 25. You see? So 10x I break down into 5x and 5x. So when I add them gives me 10x. When I multiply them gives me 25. Okay. So next step is I'm gonna break that into two different parts here. So this is the one part, this is the other part. What is the common factor in these two numbers? X, I believe. So you take x out, x plus 5. See, if I multiply x with x, it gives me x square. X with the 5 gives me 5x. And second parenthesis is similar. Just write down x plus 5 and plus 5 here. See, 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 5 is 25. It's equal to 0. Now look at it again. So there is one part over here. There is another part over here. What is a common factor in both of these parts? X plus 5 is here and x plus 5 is here. I'm going to take that out. X plus 5. If I take x plus 5 from here, I left with only x. If I take x plus 5 out from here, I left with positive 5 here. Is equal to 0. So those are my factors. There are different ways, you can make the cross method different ways. So whatever works for you, use that method. Okay, whatever works for you. The goal is to solve it as quick as possible because we need to beat the time when you're taking SAT or ACT. I like this method because the chances of making mistake is very less in this one. I'm doing all the steps. But you can factor it using this cross method too. There are other methods. There are a lot of them. So try whichever works best for you. Okay. So now we got x plus 5 into x plus 5 is equal to 0. It's the same terms. It's a perfect square. Now the product of two number is equal to 0. That means either of number is equal to 0. So what we can say, either x plus 5 is equal to 0 or this x plus 5 is equal to 0. So you subtract 5 from both hand side, cancel out. So this gives me x is equal to negative 5. Similar here, x is equal to negative 5. So this x is equal to negative 5 is the solution to this quadratic equation, and we solve it by using factors. Okay, so let's factor a few more quadratics just to learn. Gonna make some space over here and let's write down another one. Another one I got is x square plus 5x plus 4 is equal to 0. I'm gonna use my method. So coefficient of x square is 1 and this is 4. Multiply it with the coefficient of x square. This gives me 4 times 1 is 4. So I need to break down this 5x into two numbers. When I multiply them gives me this 4, and when I add or subtract them gives me 5x. So I start with the 1 times 4 is 4, and that's the answer. So 1 and 4 when I add them gives me 5x, and 1 and 4 when I multiply gives me 4. So x square plus 4x plus x plus 4 is equal to 0. So I take the common factor out from these two. If I take x out, I'll have to the x plus 4, and this is already x plus 4 plus 1. The second factor is always similar to same as whatever you find over here. So I take x plus 4 out. The second factor, the second term will be x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now the product of two numbers is equal to 0. So either x plus 4 is equal to 0 or x plus 1 is equal to 0. So subtract 4, cancel out. So x is going to be negative 4. Subtract 1 here, cancel this out. X is going to be negative 1. So that is my answer. Perfect. Let's solve one more and see what we can do. So next one is x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. I'm going to multiply my constant with the coefficient of x squared. So 10 multiplied by 1 because it's 1 here. So 10. I need to break down 7x into two numbers. When I add them, gives me 7x. When I multiply them, gives me 10. So start with the 1 times 10 is equal to 10. These two numbers, when I multiply, gives me 10. But when I add them or subtract them, 1 or 10 are not going to give me 7. Let's try 2 times 5 is 10. Good. And now when I add 2 and 5 gives me 7x. So I got x squared plus 5x plus 2x plus 10 is equal to 0. So I factor, so I take x out from here, left with x plus 5. I'm going to write x plus 5 without even thinking. And this is 2x and this is x, so just 2. 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 5 is 10. Take the x plus 5 out from both of them, gives me x plus 5, x plus 2 equal to 0. So either x plus 5 is equal to 0 or x plus 2 is equal to 0. And minus 5 cancel out, x is equal to minus 5 and minus 2 here. This gives me x is equal to minus 2. These will cancel out. Okay, so that's how you can factor quadratics. So other way they ask you solve the quadratic using quadratic formula. So let's say you have a quadratic equation in general, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Then quadratic formula says the value of x is going to be equal to minus b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac. This b square minus 4ac is basically discriminant divided by 2a. This is the formula. They said solve this quadratic using the quadratic formula. Let's try the equation we already know. So we factor x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0, and we found the solution is either x is equal to minus 5 or x is equal to minus 2. And let's solve the same equation using quadratic formula and see if we get the same answer. Okay. So let me write it down the equation. So equation was x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0. This tells me a is equal to 1 because a is the coefficient of x squared and a is equal to 1. And then we got b is equal to coefficient of x, so 7. And then we got c is a constant which is just 10. Now we're going to plug in these coefficient in this formula. So we got x is equal to b is 7, so minus 7 plus minus square root of b square 7 square minus 4 times a is 1 times c is a is 1 and c is 10 divided by 2a. 2 times a is 1. Okay, let's simplify it. And when we simplify it, this gives me x is equal to minus 7 plus or minus 7 times 7, 49. 4 times 10 is 40. Divide by 2. Then x is equal to minus 7 plus or minus 49 minus 40 is going to be square root of 9 over 2. So this is going to be, this tells me x is equal to minus 7 plus or minus, what is the square root of 9? It's 3 divided by 2. Okay, so the solution is either x is equal to minus 7 plus 3 over 2, or x is equal to minus 7 minus 3. See, one time we use positive, the other time we are using negative over 2, and see what we get. So x is equal to minus 7 plus 3 gives me minus 4 over 2, which is x is equal to negative 2. Okay, and now here, second part, minus 7 minus 3 is minus 10 divided by 2, and this is going to be negative 5. So x is negative 2 or x is equal to negative 5. Let's look back. See, x is equal to negative 2 or x is equal to negative 5. So our answer is correct. And that's what you need to do when you are solving a quadratic using a quadratic formula. So you need to remember the formula. Maybe they'll provide you, but if not, then you have to remember this quadratic formula. Okay. One other thing you need to remember, like the type of solution you will get when you solve a quadratic. This all depends on the value of this v square minus 4ac. Let me write that down on the next page. Let's say we got ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0, and the discriminant is b square minus 4ac, this part under the square root. Okay, so discriminant tells us like lot of information about the quadratic. It tells us, number one, if the solution is a real number or an imaginary number. If the solution is a real number or an imaginary number. That's the one thing you can find out from the discriminant. Second thing, if the solution is rational, if the solution is rational, or if it is irrational. Irrational. Okay. Third thing, if the solution is one unique number, or two different numbers. Like in the previous example, we got two different numbers here. See, x is negative 2 and negative 5. And the one we did in the beginning, this answer for both of the side was a negative 5, you see, when we got the perfect square, you know. So the doesn't matter, it's one number, negative 5. So discriminant tells us if the solution is a real number or an imaginary number, or if the solution is rational or irrational, or if it's just one number or there are two different numbers. Okay. So how you know all these things? The one thing is, when discriminant b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, that means discriminant is positive discriminant. In that case, there are two real solutions. Like the example we did, x squared plus 7x plus 10 is equal to 0, right? So what we got, b square is 7 square, which is 49, minus 4ac, 4 times 1 times 10, 40, which is 9. So our discriminant was 9 for this equation, which is greater than 0. That tells me there are going to be two real solutions. And that's what we found over here. We got two real solutions here. Okay. Second thing is, if b square minus 4ac discriminant is greater than 0 and a perfect square, like the previous example, our b square minus 4ac was a 9 greater than 0, it's a perfect square. 3 times 3 is a 9. In that case, there are two real and rational solutions. Those numbers are rational numbers, -2 and -5, and that's correct. So that's the second thing. Next thing, third thing is, if b square minus 4ac is greater than 0 and not a perfect square, for example, there is an equation, we solve it, we got a number, let's say 15 greater than 0. So 15 is greater than 0, but 15 is not a perfect square. If it was 16, then it's a perfect square, but if it's 15, it's not a perfect square. In that case, like, there will be two real solutions, but they'll be irrational. So you get two real irrational solutions. Okay, so when they're perfect square, rational, they are not perfect square, irrational. Okay, so other thing you will learn, our discriminant is equal to 0. So b square minus 4ac is equal to 0. In that case, there is one real solution. Okay, interesting. And one more thing, if our discriminant is less than 0, then there are only imaginary solutions. Then there are only imaginary solutions. You know why? Because if discriminant is less than 0, let's go back to this equation over here. If discriminant here, this term is negative numbers, the square root of negative is going to be an imaginary number. So the solution is going to be an imaginary number. Okay, and that's what you can find, what kind of solution you can get if you solve the discriminant, and that'll give you all this information. So they may ask you problem on that, not straightforward, but little bit, they'll make a twist there, but you need to know this information to answer those questions. Okay, if it's greater than 0, positive and two real solution. If it's greater than 0 and a perfect square, so two real rational solution. It's greater than 0 but is not a perfect square, two real irrational solution. Discriminant is equal to 0, there is one real solution. Discriminant is less than 0, there is only imaginary solutions. Okay. The next topic I'm gonna go over, I think I covered that in a previous video too, but let's do one more time here. Absolute value inequalities. I'm gonna go over one trick just to show you how to solve absolute value inequalities. Absolute value inequalities. And let's say I got absolute value of x minus 4 less than 3. Okay, so when they ask you to solve, like remember, absolute value of x is equal to, let's say, something. That means either negative x is equal to a or positive x, whatever, you know. So let's forget about this. This is going to be confusing. I'm gonna just tell you a trick here. They gave you absolute value, looks like this. They ask you solve for value of x. So what you need to do, you need to write x minus 4 less than 3 in one side, and on the other side x minus 4, flip the sign, flip the symbol here. If it's less than, make it greater than, and put opposite sign in front of this number. Okay, see, less than 3 in one column, other column greater than. If it was 3, I'm gonna make it negative 3, and now just solve it. And this gives you add 4 here, you add 4 here, so it's going to be less than 7. And in this case, you add 4 here, you add 4 here, it's going to be x is greater than 1. So that's your answer. So x is going to be greater than 1 and less than 7. And when you plug in any of the number between those two numbers in this inequality, you get the answer. And second thing, if you got, let's say, x plus 4 greater than or equal to 5, let's graph this one here first so that you know what I'm saying. So on the number lines, so x is going to be greater than 1. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 1, greater than 1. Open circle, and then 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Open circle. So our solution is in between these 2 points. Here. This is 0 here. Okay. And I put those as the open holes because this is just a less than sign. If there is an equal sign, then it's a solid dots. Okay. It can be represented as 1, 7. So our solution is between these 2 points, but not those 2 points because they are not included, just a less than symbol. Now look at this problem here. Same thing we're gonna do. X plus 4 in one column, we're gonna use the same symbol, same number, but on the other side we're gonna do x plus 4. We're gonna flip the symbol and put negative sign in front of it. There you go. That's it. And then you solve it. Minus 4, minus 4. So this is going to be x is greater than or equal to 1, or minus 4, minus 4, and x is going to be less than or equal to negative 9. So that's your answer. If you plug in those two numbers in this inequality, then inequality will hold. The both sides will be equal to each other. Okay, so if we draw this one on the number line, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So what is the solution here? It says x is greater than or equal to 1. So this is 1. So this point is included, solid dot. Greater than or equal to means we are moving in this direction. Then it says less than or equal to negative 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Less than, all the numbers to the left are less than this negative 9 here. 2, 9 and 1. So this is the solution going in this direction from here and there. Okay, so this is basically negative infinity comma negative 9 and the square bracket because 9 is included because there is an equal symbol here. And then we got 1 to infinity, and you can put a union here or here. Okay, so that's the interval notation. Alright, so that's how you can solve the inequalities. Again, in one side use the same inequality symbol, same number. The other side flip the inequality symbol and just put opposite sign here. That will give you the solution to the absolute value inequalities. Okay, so last topic on this video I'm gonna cover is functions. So functions is like a machine or a process that has an input x value and that'll give you a single y value. And we represent function as f of x. This is basically the y value. You plug in x and you find the y value. So let's say you got f of x is equal to x square. So you plug in the x value here and you find the y value. So this is basically y. Y is f of x. So let's say if x is equal to 1. So that means y is equal to f of 1 is equal to 1 square, gives you 1. And if you plug in x is equal to 2, so y value is going to be f of 2 is equal to 2 square is equal to 4. So when x is 1, y is 1. When x is 2, y is 4. So this is basically, this thing over here is like a process or a machine or an operator that has an input value, and when you put something into it, gives you something out as a y values. Okay. So it can be written in different ways, like f of x is equal to, let's say, x square plus 2. Let's say if x is 0, you plug in x is equal to 0. 0 square plus 2 gives you 2. So when you plug in x 0 in the operator, in the function, gives you y value is equal to 2. You put the input is 1. So 1 square plus 2 gives you 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay. So different ways, and let's say f of 2. 2 square plus 2. 2 square is 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. So this is a process. When you put some value into it, it gives you one unique y value. It will not give you two y value, just one single y value. Okay. Alright, so that's about functions. So thanks for watching the video, guys. Again, this is just a review of basics. You need to know, you must know before even you start preparing for SAT or ACT. Please watch my first video too. There is a lot of arithmetic concepts. This video is mostly about algebraic concepts, and the next one I'm gonna make, the part 3 will be on geometry. The geometry part of SAT and ACT must know concepts. Okay. So thanks for watching the video. Please do share and do subscribe to my channel to support the channel. I really appreciate your help. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.